Hey guys, Richie from Mustang Auto Parts here. Today we're looking at a genuine 1965 Shelby GT350. As far as the Shelby lineup goes, this is 100% my favorite of all of them, apart from obviously the GT350R, but the chances of seeing one of those pretty slim. But the GT350 in 1965, it encompasses everything that Shelby stood for and the assignment that Ford gave Shelby, which was to make a racy version of their Mustang. I absolutely love the 65 Shelby. I actually took a lot of inspiration from this very car to build my own 65 Mustang. I love the fact that it's performance first and comfort second. It's just purely made to go fast around corners to haul ass, essentially. Funny enough, that's sort of what ended up disappearing from the Shelby range as people complained that they were too hard to drive and uncomfortable and wanted more creature comforts. So this thing is as raw as it gets, and yeah, let's walk through it. So let's start with the outside of the car. 65 Shelby, only available in white with black interior. You got no color option at all. Again, forgetting about creature comforts and also options for customers, it was just, this is what you get. Standard issue was the stripes along the side with the GT350, but funny enough, the stripes along the top were a dealer fitted option, but I think they became standard later on. So a lot of cars came out with no stripes, but as time goes, everyone wants the iconic stripes, so you never really saw them without the stripes. Moving on, you've got the fiberglass bonnet with the scoop, the bonnet pin as standard, and they simplified the grille, so they got rid of the horse and corral, and they put this little badge in the front left corner. Shelby option wheels, you got two choices for the wheels. This one's got the Craigar style 5-spoke wheels on it with the period correct blue dot Goodyears. Moving around the car, they debadged all of the factory Mustang badging except for the gas cap, which still says Ford Mustang on it. So essentially, from the outside, there's really like a lot of change from the factory Mustang. Very basic stuff when you compare it to, say, the 67 or 68, where they started doing crazy nose cones, scoops, and the rest of it. Realistically, it was more about the performance side of things. That is the assignment that Ford gave Shelby. It was to make a racy version, so. Moving on to the interior, as I mentioned earlier, you could only choose black. So again, we're going for pretty basic differences. Realistically, just slight little racy mods like the tacho pod thing that he put on the dash. It's also got an oil gauge as well. Wheel on there, which funny enough doesn't have a horn in the middle. So then he put a aftermarket horn switch on the dash. That is just genuine Shelby, that's how they did it. He also got rid of the factory belts and put these racy 3-inch harnesses. And then we have the rear seat delete with the relocation of the spare wheel. Basic stuff, but I guess, you know, it's all about making it a bit racier. Yeah, that's pretty much it for the interior. The rest is factory Mustang. You'll notice fiberglass bonnet. They got rid of the springs and they included a little prop or bonnet stay. So very unusual for old Ford. Usually just goes off the springs. So power plant wise, they got the full Shelby treatment in 65. So remove motor, it was blueprinted, balanced. They added all of the Shelby accessories. So your cast valve covers, cast extended sump. It copped tri-wise with side exit exhaust just in front of the rear wheels. Very cool. What else did it get? The bigger carby. Apparently, I think around 300 and something horsepower, which pretty cool for back then. Heavy duty clutch. It also got a aluminum case T10 gearbox. Still 4-speed, but close ratio. That goes to a shortened 9-inch with a Detroit locker. Very cool, very old school, very raw, very mean. Just a freaking awesome car. Yeah, that's pretty much it for the power plant. Heavy clutch and stuff. It's not the easiest thing to drive. It's actually, you got to handle it a bit, especially with the old blue dot tires. It wants to sort of, yeah, how the hell these guys drove these things to the limit back then, it just baffles me, honestly. So for the suspension steering, he did some really cool stuff. He changed the pitman arm and the idler arm to create like a quick steer setup essentially. It's already a 16:1 steering box, and then it's got the addition of the quick steer as well. He went with the one-piece export brace and the Monte Carlo bar. He added the Connie shocks, and he also added a 1-inch front sway bar and the famous Shelby drop, which obviously changes the geometry of the suspension to make it steer better at the track. Super common mod, did it to my own car, works amazing on old Fords. He also went with the traction bars on the back. He went with travel limiting cables for the rear axle. All kind of old school mods, but super functional, pretty raw. If you ever get to look underneath one of these, the way he did the traction rods is pretty wild. They come through the cabin essentially, and it looks like they just did it with an angle grinder or maybe a like a gas axe, but super agricultural, but in my opinion, super, super cool. It's just about making the car drive fast. All right, so now that we've looked at all the details, Nikita's gonna take us for a spin. Detroit locker, baby.
Yeah, it has a bit of bite.
Just wants to rev.
Brakes take a bit to get used to.
Yeah, well, no booster and performance pads. Man, the sound that you get from the side exit is just next level. It's so good. How's the close ratio gearbox?
It's not too bad on this. It's definitely close.
Yeah, it feels punchy. Like, not only is the motor wanting to rev, like it's just like instant, you know? How are you enjoying those vintage blue dot tires?
They're a bit all over the shop.
Yeah, that's probably one thing that when I drove it makes the whole thing feel a bit scary.
It's a bit unsettling.
Like, I don't know what they'd be like when they were new. You know, like obviously these probably been sitting around for a little bit.
Yeah, a bit vintage.
Yeah, but maybe when they were new they were a bit more responsive, but when you drive it now it just feels a little bit unsteady compared to like a modern tire.
Yeah, definitely would have been interesting racing on these kinds of tires.
Yeah, I know, right? But you see the photos of them, like the vintage photos, and they're basically almost rolling over.
Yeah.
And they've got it just pinned, and they're just holding on for dear life. What's the old saying? Motor cars were dangerous and sex was safe. Jesus.
Locker is definitely interesting.
They're pushing the front.
Not really, it's just you gotta choose when to accelerate.
Yeah. Yeah, I imagine this car would bite back pretty bad.
Yeah.
It's kind of what makes it so exciting though, isn't it?
Definitely choose how you want to steer it. It's either from the front or the back.
Oh man, that locker is so biting.
Yeah. can see why, yeah, normal, everyday people would have complained that they were difficult to drive. Definitely not a car to just jump in and go to the shops. Like, you could. Depends where your groceries will end up, though.
Literally everywhere we go, there's people staring and shouting at us.
It's pretty quiet.
Yeah, it's subtle.
Subtle. Definitely not as easy as your car to drive.
No, it's much more raw and difficult. Yeah, it's funny, you can actually feel it even as a passenger when it's like grabbing.
Yeah.
Oh, smooth.
Pretty sure that was neutral.
Ah, yep, that's why it's so smooth. Love how you can hear the traction rods just like clunking away back there as well.